Man, I had to go outside and go for a walk before I did this video to cool off. And I'm still pissed off. I'm still pissed. This was straight up sabotage. Stephanie White, you are a bum. Aaliyah Boston, you are even more of a bum. You are a $6 million piece of garbage out there. Your ass can't make a layup. You refuse to pass the ball to Caitlin Clark. You stink. You stink. You've been intentionally not passing the ball to Caitlin Clark for the last 7-8 games. We've been watching and counting. I've been watching your ass not pass her the ball. You can't make a layup to save your life. You just as garbage at layups.
Fans of the WNBA, a significant event is taking place. Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark have made a significant move, and the Fever and Stephanie White are receiving a lot of attention as a result of recent events. So let's get right into today's video without wasting any time. Why may Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham decide to join the New York Liberty instead of the Indiana Fever? Why would they take such a drastic step? Let's investigate. She turned around and walked directly away from the bench as the arena collapsed into total chaos. Caitlin Clark finally lost it after a devastating 91-85 loss against the Dallas Wings. Head coach Stephanie White stood still on the sidelines. She was obviously shocked by the violent outburst occurring in front of her. It was more than just a devastating road loss against a squad that had dropped 8 of its previous 11 games. It was the violent finale of a building internal struggle that could have destroyed the entire company and had been going on behind closed doors for weeks.
She played a hell of a game. But this thing was 100% about Kelsey Mitchell, and I think it had everything to do with them seeing Caitlin Clark climbing that MVP ladder, and they said, hell no, we are sabotaging this, and that is exactly what happened. The Indiana Fever lose to a team in the Dallas Wings that lost 8 out of their last 11 games. You could thank Stephanie White, who wanted to make it all about Kelsey Mitchell. Welcome to Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Share the channel, hit the bell notification, hype the video. That'd be greatly appreciated, man. I am disgusted with the Indiana Fever. I am disgusted. Stephanie White, get your bum ass.
It was impossible to ignore the serious fracture on the court from the first possession. Music White wrote the first piece exclusively for Kelsey Mitchell and completely ignored Clark as a significant playwright. Music, as he executed the preset sequence, Clark's selfless bounce pass sent Mitchell straight to the free throw line. But that one scene set a worrisome precedent that pervaded the entire evening. The coaching staff concentrated on a single tactic rather than balancing the offensive onslaught. It quickly became evident to everyone watching that Clark was being pushed out of the central driver's seat.
I am disgusted. Stephanie White, get your bum ass in the trash. Get your bum ass in the trash. You are a freaking bum of a coach. You are terrible. You are terrible. You mean to tell me the very first play of the game was ran for Kelsey Mitchell? Caitlin Clark threw her a bounce pass. Kelsey Mitchell went to turn the corner, got fouled, went to the free throw line. From that point on, every single play in the first half was for Kelsey Mitchell. Nobody else could establish a rhythm because you did nothing else.
Within the building, analysts quickly noticed a concerning strategy that appeared to be deliberately designed to keep the generational rookie at bay. Clark was rapidly climbing the league's official MVP ladder and gaining tremendous national momentum with each amazing performance. However, the offensive approach employed against Dallas seemed to be specifically geared to block her individual rhythm by coordinating everything via Mitchell at the expense of team flow. The Fever deliberately undermined the very dynamic that made them lethal. The tension on the hardwood increased dramatically with each passing attacking possession.
Sophie Cunningham to get a shot from 3. You like by the time people got looks, they were in no rhythm. There was no rhythm by the time they actually got looks at the rim. Aaliyah Boston is trash. She does not set screens. You got people tackling Caitlin Clark. Aaliyah Boston, big soft sorry ass, don't do nothing. She's a big soft sorry piece of if you ask me out there. Aaliyah Boston is ass. $6 million of ass juice out there. She ain't did nothing. Got dominated by Jessica Shepard. Aaliyah Boston, get your sorry ass in the trash too. Go on, get your sorry ass in the trash.
The statistical disparity during the first 2 quarters exposed the shocking truth of what was happening on the floor. Indiana didn't execute a single pick and roll or ball screen meant for Clark until the last 15 seconds of the second quarter. Imagine how absurd it would be for the most dynamic player in modern basketball to stand there on the perimeter until the third quarter without making an off-ball screen. As her scoring threat was completely eliminated, she was compelled to watch the action from the sidelines. Clark's mounting rage was about to blow up. Stephanie White had no idea that a serious breakdown in team chemistry was taking place right in front of her. Without offering any significant schematic support, the head coach was often captured on camera giving Clark relentless instructions and pestering her during critical dead ball situations. Instead of altering the offense to free up her star guard, White was clearly unhappy when the ball did end up in Clark's hands. The coach and celebrity's body language worsened in real time, revealing a massive rift that could no longer be hidden behind diplomatic news conferences.
Straight up bum. Stephanie White, you are the biggest piece of garbage, biggest piece of trash out there. Take a look at this. I'm glad. Look, Caitlin Clark is turning her back on Stephanie White. She's over it. Can we end this thing at the end of the season? Shout out to Kelsey. You played a good game. We're going to get into that. I want this thing broken up by the end of the season. You can't afford both. Pick one and let's move on. At this point, I'd rather y'all keep Kelsey, Stephanie, and AB together in Indiana and let's let Caitlin go elsewhere. Can we go elsewhere, please? I just want to get the hell away from here. I want to get away from these weirdos. I want to get away from this sabotaging organization. I want to get away from everything. Take a look at this.
The in-court execution was rendered much more troubling by the front court dynamics and passing patterns. A focal point with a substantial remuneration. On the perimeter, Aaliyah Boston routinely refused to execute basic handoffs with Clark. On multiple occasions, the observer witnessed Boston initiate a move in Clark's direction before quickly changing direction at the last second and sending the ball directly to Mitchell. This deliberate trend persisted throughout the game. Without fear of internal punishment, opponents violently encircled Clark, rendering her immobile.
Look at her. Look at her. She don't want to hear it no more. Now look at Stephanie White when Caitlin Clark has the ball right here. She don't even want Caitlin to have the ball. She want Kelsey to have the ball. You see that reaction from the coach? You see that? They hate each other, and it's okay. I'll be glad when this thing is over. I will be glad when this thing is over. Get Caitlin Clark the hell away from this team. Get her the hell out of here, man. Caitlin Clark don't want nothing to do with Stephanie White, and Stephanie White don't want nothing to do with Caitlin Clark, which is fine. Can we stop this whole kumbaya thing, this fake thing? Stop standing up for Stephanie White at the...
Boston failed to provide adequate physical defense in screen and roll scenarios, leaving Clark vulnerable to devastating defensive smashes. Dallas defenders were practically tackling Clark on the perimeter. Boston, on the other hand, offered hardly any significant interaction or opposition to establish separation. The problem was made worse by Clark's constant spoon-feeding of high-percentage chances around the rim that Boston was unable to convert. Due to Indiana's total lack of physical presence, Dallas forward Jessica Shepard dominated the interior, exposing the team's total weakness in the paint.
Y'all had to go cake for her at the podium. Y'all lost to a team that lost 8 out of their last 11 games. Caitlin Clark didn't play well. You shot 1 free throw. That shows me you had a lack of aggression. I felt like you checked out in the second quarter, to be honest. I watched you check out. They ran everything for Kelsey Mitchell. You came down the court. You wasn't even looking for no ball screens no more because you knew they wasn't coming. And you know once you pass the ball, you're never getting the ball back. You know that. If we all know it, you know it too. You know Aaliyah Boston don't give you the ball when you give it to her. You know when you go for the handoff with Aaliyah Boston, she's going to do this and then go the opposite way and give it to Kelsey. You know that.
Clark's mindset had significantly shifted by the middle of the second quarter. Her involvement in the offensive flow completely ceased. She stopped searching for screens that she was positive would never appear after discovering that the offensive setups were deliberately avoiding her. She was completely aware that once the ball left her hands, she would never see it again. The explosive enthusiasm and boundless energy that defined her game were replaced with cold, calculating detachment. She had mentally checked out after realizing the internal game being played all around her. The box score reflected the disastrous outcomes of this poor attacking tactic. Clark finished the night with just 10 points, 9 assists, and 4 rebounds after a dismal 4 of 15 shooting effort, including 2 of 8 from outside the arc. More telling than anything else was the fact that she only made 1 free throw during the game, showing how the plan totally removed her hallmark aggression as she desperately tried to force the matter during the third quarter. Her rhythm had been entirely destroyed by quarters of forced inactivity. In contrast, Kelsey Mitchell put up amazing individual numbers, scoring 37 points on 9 of her 18 shots and making all 15 of her free throw attempts. On the surface, casual observers saw an incredible exhibition of individual scoring that kept the team competitive. However, insiders knew that this output immediately threatened team cohesiveness and offensive balance. The entire tactical concept revolved around feeding Mitchell to sustain an individual scoring spree, leaving every other significant player completely at a standstill. This one offensive concentration hurt the entire roster. Reliable outside shooter Sophie Cunningham never made rhythmic contact with the ball, therefore she missed all 4 of her three-point shots. By the time supporting players were touched late in the shot clock, the game was already slipping away. When 4 players are reduced to spectators, the offensive structure is severely disturbed, as Monique Billings and other key rotation players found it very difficult to contribute. In contrast, Indiana's growing internal conflict was ruthlessly exploited by the Dallas Wings. Iraqi Ogun Bale consistently and confidently took advantage of the Fever's inconsistent defensive rotations to score 32 points. In a record performance, Jessica Shepard finished with 26 points and 8 rebounds after making 10 of 11 shots in the first half alone. Despite having lost 8 of their previous 11 games, Dallas played with total unity, exposing a Fever roster that was actively disintegrating from within. The emotional high point of the evening was Stephanie White's audacious move toward Clark during a crucial break late in the second half to administer yet another round of sideline reprimands. The star guard did something quite shocking. Clark obviously turned her back on her head coach and walked all the way to the end of the bench, raising her hands in the air. The obvious contempt and lack of communication were undeniable. As teammates observed, they were fully aware that a dangerous boundary had just been crossed. There was silence on the sidelines. This spectacular confrontation on the sidelines undermined the organization's carefully crafted facade of team camaraderie. For months, Clark has diligently defended coaching decisions at post-game press conferences, projecting the image of the ultimate professional despite questionable rotations. But when she openly declined to even communicate with White, the illusion was essentially destroyed. The mutual enmity had escalated to the point where neither the coach nor the franchise cornerstone could conceal their deep hostility from national cameras. The catastrophic leadership failure at the top is finally being brought to light by front office insiders. Music, Stephanie White was brought in to make the most of Clark's once-in-a-generation playmaking abilities and put this young squad in the running for the championship. Instead, her rigid attacking tactics and questionable player management have increasingly alienated the sport's most valuable asset. Music. Coaching staff should not deliberately undermine a generational talent for the sake of isolated statistics. This is outright organizational malpractice. The growing animosity between the backcourt stars has reached an unsupportable level. Mitchell is undoubtedly a talented scorer, but the reality is that when 2 dominant guards are pushing in completely different philosophical directions, an offense cannot operate efficiently. The persistent structural strain brought on by the existing hierarchy puts the organization in an unsupportable position. When assessing the long-term future, the front office will inevitably have to choose between these opposing offensive objectives. The situation is made worse by the evident lack of accountability in the starting front court. Boston's massive contract demands a two-way level comparable to that of the most dominant players in the game. Instead, her clear inability to make basic shots at the rim or make physical contact with the screen has severely hindered the team's half-court performance. When your starting center consistently misses out on outstanding playmaking, a compounding wave of frustration can completely ruin an offense. The crushing loss to Dallas is a dangerous turning point that might permanently destroy Indiana's chances of qualifying for the postseason. Losing a crucial game against a falling opponent is awful enough, but losing while disclosing serious personal issues is catastrophic. The players' body language throughout the fourth quarter showed that they were operating in complete isolation rather than as a cohesive squad. If the coaching staff cannot command the respect of the locker room, the season could collapse in front of their eyes. Globally, basketball fans have responded angrily, demanding significant top-down reforms. On social media, video analyses of every missed cut, every evaded passing lane, and the indisputable moment Clark departed White were posted right away. Most people concur that a defective system is deliberately suffocating the league's biggest star. The public is putting a lot of pressure on ownership to address the evident dysfunction before it causes irreversible damage. Clark's obvious fatigue during the post-game moments reflected a story far more complicated than a single defeat. While carrying the weight of the league's attention, she is actively fighting schematic sabotage by her own coaching staff. Music. It is difficult to play under such intense focus when your own teammates won't pass the ball. Her face showed the psychological effects of being by yourself in your own offensive system as she walked off the arena floor. It is unacceptable to let a head coach alienate a franchise star, as this might alter the organization's trajectory for years. Ownership must act quickly and decisively to address the enormous problem that the front office is currently experiencing. If White cannot change her mindset to prioritize Clark's generational vision, tough personnel choices must be made immediately. The luxury of waiting for things to naturally settle has officially ended with this catastrophic meltdown in Dallas. At this critical juncture in their history, the Indiana Fever's next move will decide the team's whole future. If the organization doesn't fully commit to building around Caitlin Clark's exceptional ability with a coaching staff that is in sync with her, they run the risk of losing the most valuable asset in modern basketball history. The spectacular breakdown against Dallas wasn't the result of a single awful night. It made it quite evident that the current dynamic is irreversibly harmed. The Dallas final buzzer was much more than a 6-point defeat in the standings. It exposed extremely poor tactical decisions, an unsustainable ego conflict, and a franchise cornerstone who has officially had enough of being ostracized. If Stephanie White and the Fever leadership disregard this crucial wake-up call, the whole sports scene will be permanently changed. The genuine fight in Indiana is only beginning, and it will have far-reaching effects.
Every game has been that. This girl body just shut down the last game, just like it did in the playoffs last year. And she plays 35 minutes. But she played well with her opportunities. They made it her a focal point. They made it a point to get her established. They made it a point to get Kelsey a rhythm. And when she got that rhythm, she kept it going. They never made it a point to get anybody else a rhythm. Sophie Cunningham, 0-4 from 3. By the time Sophie Cunningham got a look at the rim, the game was almost over. She had no rhythm. No rhythm. Monique Billings sucks. The biggest crock of dog shit for $800,000. I don't know how she's getting 8. She sucks.